Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're looking at one of the absolute most fascinating contrasts in Australian history. We're going to take a disastrous, myth-driven historical search for gold in Central Australia and place it right next to the incredibly rich, hard geological reality that modern science has since uncovered. It's basically a story of human folly crashing headfirst into billions of years of geological fact. So let's dive right into this fascinating saga. Section 1. The Quest for Gold. So back in 1930, the Central Australian Gold Exploration Company launched an expedition to find Lasseters Reef, which was basically a mythical, made-up vein of gold. Now, the expedition's pragmatic leader, Fred Blakely, left this absolutely devastating description of their supposedly crack pilot, Errol Coote. He called him jerky and jumpy and a journalist with a vivid imagination. I mean, wow, when your lead aviator is described like that, it immediately sets the stage for a total historical disaster. Coote wasn't out there for the science, folks. He was definitely just out there for the story. Moving right along to Section 2, a pilot and a pretender. To really grasp why this expedition went off the rails, we just have to look at Coote's disastrous World War I military record. Get this. In 1917, he enlists using completely false personal details. Fast forward to August 1918, he goes AWOL. The military police actually catch him, but then he manages to escape custody, not once, but twice in September. Finally, the civil police arrest him in October. So his record wasn't exactly heroic, right? It was literally a litany of misdemeanors and court-martials. And when he was finally picked up by the civil police, it was for stealing a motorcycle and a sidecar valued at exactly 35 pounds. They hit him with a 5-pound fine for the theft, but, well, because he was already stuck in the military prison system and not drawing a paycheck, he couldn't even afford it. So he ended up spending a month in a British lockup. And this is the guy the Central Australian Gold Exploration Company entrusted with their state-of-the-art aerial mapping. You really can't make this stuff up. So when the 1930 expedition finally kicks off, their grand aerial plans were founded on an absolute farce. Coote had actually let his A-class pilot's license lapse a whole year prior, and the company's aircraft, a Gypsy Moth, completely unregistered. Think about that for a second. You've got an unlicensed pilot flying an unregistered aircraft out into one of the most unforgiving environments on the entire planet, all to chase a ghost reef. Predictably, this did not end well. During his brief, bumbling stint on the expedition, Coote promptly got himself lost, wasted valuable time and resources, and ultimately crashed and completely destroyed the company's aircraft at AI Creek. For all the money spent and all the crazy risks taken, he accomplished absolutely nothing but a really costly, useless trip. There was no Lasseters Reef. It was all just a mirage. Which brings us to Section 3, the real Arunta-Musgrave treasure. Now, this brings us to a huge pivot from historical folly to hard geological fact. I have to ask you, would you trust a pilot who literally forged his enlistment papers to find a mythical city of gold? Or should we look at what rigorous science actually tells us is out there? Because what modern geologists have discovered out in the Arunta-Musgrave region makes Lasseter's mythical gold reef look like absolute pocket change. Just take a look at this digital relief map. It completely reveals the massive, rugged reality of the terrain that these bumbling 1930s explorers were so thoroughly lost in. It's an incredibly vast and complex area stretching right across the central eastern border of Western Australia, bleeding over into the Northern Territory and South Australia. You definitely don't map this by flying blind in a Gypsy Moth. You map this through decades of painstaking, boots-on-the-ground geoscientific surveying. Let's dive into Section 4, Mapping the Musgrave Complex. By applying that rigorous geoscientific surveying, we finally mapped this incredibly complex region. If you look at an 1894 geological sketch map, it's mostly blank space and, frankly, a lot of guesswork. But today, modern tectonic mapping, which uses airborne geophysics, satellite imagery, and tons of extensive fieldwork, has identified precise, incredibly complex tectonic units and deep crustal formations. And really, the absolute crown jewel of all this modern mapping is the discovery of the Giles Complex. Emplaced roughly 1,078 million years ago, this is a series of layered mafic and ultramafic magmas. Basically, we're talking about incredibly dense, deep earth volcanic rocks that formed massive intrusions. This is deep continental crust exposed right at the surface, over 10 kilometers thick, spanning a huge belt 200 by 40 kilometers. It's actually one of the most extensive magmatic events ever recognized in Australia. Okay, so breaking through all that dense scientific jargon for a second, what does a massive mafic intrusion actually mean for us? Well, it means true treasures. These are the actual incredible mineral deposits discovered in the region by modern science. We are looking at immense lateritic nickel deposits at Wingelina, rich vanadium associated with titaniferous magnetite in the Jameson Gabbro, widespread copper occurrences, beautiful chrysoprase gemstones, and even signs of microdiamonds. It's like a geological jackpot. And just to put a scale on that reality, 227 million tons. Let that sink in. While Coote was out chasing a complete myth, he completely missed the Wingagillina deposit sitting right below him, a deposit which holds a staggering measured, indicated, and inferred resource of 227 million tons of 1% nickel. Now that is world-class tangible wealth, wealth generated by the intense geological pressures of the Earth, just sitting there waiting for the right tools to actually find it. That brings us to our final part, Section 5, Folly versus Fact. Let's pull all of this together and really contrast the myth with the geological reality. What's genuinely fascinating to me is the sheer scale of time at play here. We're looking at literally billions of years of deep geological formation. You've got high-grade metamorphism, 1,882 million years ago. Then, the massive Giles complex magmas bubbling up 1,078 million years ago. Slowly cooling, slowly forming immense real wealth. And then, way down at the very bottom of the timeline, a tiny, bungled 10-week stunt in 1930 by an unlicensed pilot chasing a made-up story. It just perfectly frames the immense patience of the Earth against the fleeting impatience of human greed. Which leaves us with this final thought to ponder. As we look to the future of exploration, and hey, not just in the Australian outback, but anywhere on Earth or even beyond, will tomorrow's hidden treasures be discovered by vivid imaginations chasing rumors, or by the slow, structured, and rigorous application of science? I definitely know where I'd place my bet. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep your eyes open to the facts hiding right beneath the surface.